I got you into a Remington party. What's my thanks? It's on the hallway carpet. I got paid in puke. Lick it up, baby. I got paid in puke.
On today's episode of Paid in Puke, we're joined by Erin Lavery to scream about Ridley Scott's 1979 masterpiece, Alien, the film that inspired the Bechdel test.
Where's Earth?
Seems we have intercepted a transmission of unknown origin.
Human.
Unknown.
Can you see this?
I've never seen anything like it.
What the hell is that?
How do we kill it?
You can't.
Oh, God, it's moving right towards you. Move, get out of there.
On today's episode of Paid in Puke, we're going to chat about the film that inspired the Bechdel test, Ridley Scott's 1979 art house horror film, Alien, starring Sigourney Weaver, heading an ensemble cast. My name is Jessica Baxter.
I'm Amy Green.
I'm Christina Barr.
And today we're joined by one of my oldest friends, Erin Lavery. Hi. Erin, do you want to introduce yourself beyond your name? Do you want to say a little bit about yourself?
Well, I am a partially qualified person to review this movie. I feel like my qualifications come primarily from the fact I've watched it like 50 to 100 times. Longtime movie lover, and in particular, longtime lover of the Ripley character, one of the first like real feminist heroes on screen. So I'm excited to talk about it today.
Okay, well, Alien tells the story of a commercial astral towing ship that gets rerouted on its way home to answer a distress beacon, which leads to a trail of carnage and a fight for survival. It was a box office smash at the time. Real big deal. It cost $11 million to make, and it grossed $106 million worldwide.
Wow.
At the time. So I'm sure since then, because it's obviously started a huge franchise and it's a cult favorite. Well, not even cult. It's a favorite. It's just a favorite. Yeah. So this is a cash cow. This crazy like art house ahead of its time movie. We like to just start off throwing out compliments. Do you want to start, Erin?
Oh, okay. So one of the things that I had forgotten about this movie, since it had been a while since I saw it, was how good the workplace banter is. Maybe I just missed it, because when I watched it when I was younger, I was more focused on the sci-fi aspects and, you know, the alien, right?
Yeah.
But watching their rapport and the way they interacted with each other and teased each other really made it more fun.
The first thing that I'm going to do when I get back is to get some decent food.
I can dig it, man. I'm telling you, I'm eating birch food and this, but then I taste it better, you know what I'm saying? The other one over there.
You pound down the stuff like this.
Listen, I'd rather be eating something else, but right now I'm thinking food.
You should know. You know what it's made of.
No, Dad. I don't want to talk about what it's made of. I'm eating this.
There's more comedy in it than I remembered. So I loved that about it, because it gave it really a fun feeling, and then you cared more about them and you were able to get invested, I think, faster. Mm-hmm. So then when things actually start going wrong, you care about the people things are going wrong too. I think that makes for more suspense and better movie. Yeah.
Do they talk over each other a lot? I had the subtitles on this time. I like to just have the subtitles on a lot now, just because I'm old and I miss things, but especially when we're watching a movie for the podcast, because I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. I didn't notice how much of an ongoing thing, like, talking about the bonuses was until this watch, where they're just like, anyway, about the bonuses.
Oh, yeah, right. I just forgot something, man. Before we dock, I think we ought to discuss the bonus situation.
Right.
Brett and I, we think we ought We deserve full shares, right,
Right.
baby?
You see, Mr. Park and I feel that the bonus situation has never been on an equitable level.
Well, you get what you contracted for like everybody else.
Yes, but everybody else gets more than us.
I really like that, and it's an interesting kind of maybe even a parallel to filmmaking in a way, because like there's not that many industries where you have like the people who are being paid for their brains versus the people being paid for their bodies and their labor, and how it is often the people being paid for their labor who get undercut. And in this case, like they're all risking their lives. So Parker and Brett are like, yeah, but this seems like a good time to bring up the fact that since we're all risking our lives, maybe we could get a little bit more money out of this in the end.
We're obligated under Section
Well, I hate to bring
8.
this up, but this is a commercial ship, not a rescue ship.
Right.
And it's not my contract to do this kind of duty. And what about the money? If you want to give me some money to do, I'd be happy to. All right.
Man's right.
Let's go over the bonus situation. We never
Can we
just talk about the bonus situation.
Sorry, can I say something?
Let's talk about the bonus situation.
I thought it was like a really strong, charismatic cast in this movie. A lot of character actors that I really like. I mean, obviously Harry Dean Stanton is just like always gold, you know. It was so I really enjoy seeing him, and it's hard to say his name, but Yaphet Kotto.
Yaphet Kotto.
Yes.
I actually looked it up ahead of time because I wanted to make sure we got it right.
Oh, okay, yeah. And he shows up in a lot of things, but, you know, Midnight Run is one of my favorite movies. And
Yeah.
he's mostly in that. So I really liked every time those two were on screen together. I liked their banter a lot. I also really liked how it had such a slow build, building the suspense, because it just starts out like so sort of quiet and slow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the first time I'd ever seen it. I feel like I grew up knowing about this movie and seeing so many references to it. And when I was a kid, I went to Universal Studios in Orlando, and I think there's a ride where there's an alien part to it. And like,
really?
I was like, I know all this stuff is from Alien, but I've never actually seen it. The slow build of it and the story was really cool, how it just sort of, they're not on a mission to go get the alien. It's this incidental thing where they have to investigate it and things that happen along the way. I thought that was really cool. The effects were interesting, and the chestburster scene. I mean, I saw, my knowledge of that was the Spaceballs.
Of course.
Like,
Oh no, not again.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal. Send me a kiss by wire. Baby, my heart's on fire. If you refuse me, honey, you lose me. Then you'll be left alone. Oh, baby, telephone and tell me I'm your own.
Check, please.
I'm like, okay, well, I'm actually seeing the original, what that is referencing.
Yeah. My dad let me watch this movie too early because I watched Spaceballs and he thought that part was so funny. He wanted me to understand the reference. My dad made a lot of really questionable judgments about movies that he let me see at certain ages. I mean, I guess I'm fine now, but Poltergeist way too young, Total Recall way too young. This
Poltergeist was rated PG, you know? Like,
It was?
Yeah. I mean, it was before PG-13 existed, but like...
Yeah. Oh, maybe that's why he...
Probably thought it was okay.
Yeah.
That was PG?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that freaked me out.
No idea.
But yeah, he was like, see, this is hilarious. I think it's very funny.
Right. It's funny because I watched this yesterday with Lucy, and Lucy's never watched Spaceballs, but even she knew, oh yeah, this is that movie where the thing explodes out of someone's stomach. Like when that part happened, she wasn't freaked out. She's like, that's how much it's just tap water.
Yeah.
Like,
I'd be interested to know how that came about for her.
Yeah, I don't
probably
know.
doesn't even know.
Yeah, right. It's like even if you haven't seen Star Wars, you know, I'm your father. Or
Yeah.
you would know this about Alien.
Yeah.
Yeah, the special effects were really fun. And I loved how, I mean, the cinematography, a lot of it was beautiful. Like the use of light and darkness. And so a lot of it was beautiful, especially for the time. But also there was the very dated quality that I loved.
Yeah.
Like when they take the head off the robot humanoid guy and there's like royal icing all over his face. and it makes it fun to watch for me.
They use
That's
like
part of the fun.
condoms to make the
yeah, those
there's
little balloon thing. Yeah, it looked like a little bit of paper mache.
It had a
really
interesting robot
like
interior.
my mom helped me make this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
There's that stuff, but in contrast, there's the cavern, or I guess they call it a temple, and how impressive that is.
Yeah.
So there is quite a contrast in technologies, and Ridley Scott agonized over how to present the alien because he was really concerned about having a guy in a suit and have it look like a guy in a suit running around. So he wanted to have like an animatronic thing, but it was too expensive. So they ended up compromising by hiring this guy who they sort of trained in mime and dance, and they like discovered him in a pub. He was like 7 feet tall and had really long, skinny arms, and they're like, well, he's weird looking enough that he might not look too goofy in this suit. And then also they didn't film ever a full body shot, or almost ever. There's like just in the shuttle at the very end is the first time you see the full body shot. And it is kind of funny when he crawls out of that space in the shuttle and he's just like
But they handled it well.
Yeah.
I think he did a really good job given what his role is. He's wearing this hokey, late 70s alien outfit.
Yeah.
It has like the extra head coming out of the mouth. He's gigantic. And I thought he did a good job with what he was working with. I had never thought of him as an actor. I always assumed it was a robot or something. I was young, I guess. But then when I was looking on IMDb and I saw that the actor who played the alien, I was like, oh my God, a guy had to do that. So,
yeah. I feel like I should name check him because he
that's true.
was pretty great. So
that's a hard
I wrote
role.
it down somewhere. The actor who played the xenomorph is named Balaji Badejo, and he was a graphic artist that they discovered in a pub. So he wasn't even really an actor, but he did this and was pretty proud of his work ultimately.
It's a hard role to pull off.
Definitely, I know.
I liked the mother room.
Oh yeah, that's so cool.
I'm like, I want a room like that someday. The rows of the white lights, and then it's like this sort of padded, leathery rows of wall. I don't know. It just looked really cool.
Yeah, it's like a sound studio almost.
Yeah.
With like all these lights that don't do anything, and then like a leather armchair and like a sort of ESL booth as a console. Yeah, Mother's really cool. I like that it's called Mother because there's all that image. There's so much like birth imagery. When we first meet everybody, they're hatching out of eggs, wearing diapers.
Yes.
In the end, Ripley goes back into an egg, and of course the impregnation of Cain and giving birth. I really noticed also Ash's insidiousness this time too.
Oh, okay.
I was looking for it more than usual, especially after like watching, because this is the first time I've seen it since I watched Prometheus and all that. Did you watch those? Prometheus and then whatever the one after that is. For some reason I can never remember what it's called, but they're like the other two aliens directed by Ridley Scott. That are like the newer ones. You didn't see them?
Oh, I haven't seen the newer ones. After the 80s, I decided to stop watching them. But now that I've seen this one, I think I'm going to see them all.
They're fascinating.
I can't, now that I've seen this
It's
one
got
again.
Michael Fassbender in them, which is always a draw for me. But he's an evil robot in those. There's like a lot about the concept of these evil robots that work for the company and what their motivations are. And so I was really paying attention to Ash this time. Ian Holm was amazing in this role because he's so, everything he does is just skin crawling. And it's like, that's Bilbo Baggins. But but in this movie, he's so terrible. I mean, he's a great actor, but yeah, his character is just
the way he attacks Ripley too is really interesting scene because the walls have these taped pictures of half naked or completely naked women on them, and she's pushed down in a bunk, I'm assuming, and then there's a wadded up, I'm guessing, girly mag or pornographic magazine.
That's like they're
He's choking her with the pornographic magazine. That's an interesting choice.
You're right. I was like, I never thought about it until this moment, but I was like, I wonder if that's their wank room.
Yes,
that is the wank room. It's like a really insidious choice for where to assault her. And then he's like so predatory. Like he admires the alien for its lack of sentimentality, right?
You still don't understand what you're dealing with, do you? Perfect organism. Its structural perfection is matched only by its hostility.
You admire it.
I admire its purity a survivor, unclouded by conscience, remorse, or delusions of morality.
Look, I've heard enough of this, and I'm asking you to pull the plug.
So he's aspiring to be that in that scene. He's like, I'm going to be the passionless killer here.
I think he used the term purity, too, which I thought
yeah,
was
it was the Aryan idea of, like, eugenics. Yeah, they really go into that a lot in the newer ones. I recommend them, even though they have problems. And you have to do a lot of reading afterwards to understand what you were watching. Which doesn't speak really well for storytelling if there's so much left unanswered afterwards that you have to go and like look on Reddit to figure it out.
Right.
But at the same time, I enjoyed that process. So if you like the world of Alien, I recommend doing it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, the other thing I wanted to say about this before we get too deep into it was that this is the movie that inspired the Bechdel test in a way. It's the movie that's referenced by Alison Bechdel in her comic Dykes to Watch Out For, which was published in 1985, and we reference the Bechdel test at the beginning of every episode of our podcast, but we've never really laid it out before. So to pass the test, a film must have at least 2 female characters, and they have to have names, and they have to have a conversation about something other than a man. And it seems like it wouldn't take much for a film to pass, but historically, there's shockingly few films that do pass.
Percentage-wise, it's probably like, I would guess, 20 to 25%.
And that's probably of the newer movies, right? That's from the 60s. And Ripley was originally written for a man, so there's a lot of articles on how maybe that is why the role isn't so deferential to men, and she gets to be her own person, because originally it wasn't going to be a woman playing it at all.
Yeah. The script actually said that all the characters were unisex for casting, but for some reason the writers, Dan O'Bannon and Ronald Shissett? I don't know how to say that. But anyway, they were like, yeah, everybody's unisex except Ripley. Which is really interesting. I mean, Ridley Scott wanted to audition women, but the writers intended for her to be a man for whatever reason. At least their hearts were in the right place initially, where they were like, well, any person can play any of these roles for the most part.
Except Ripley. Has to be a dude. But yeah, that's true.
A woman can't save the day. That's stupid.
Yeah. Well, probably the closest we had to that was like Princess Leia, right? Around that same time period. And, she never really got to do the whole thing herself. So this was a big deal.
She did a lot herself, but she was always outshined by the dudes. And in the end, she's giving them awards and was giving her an award. So, yeah. I know this is a pretty great movie, but I had a couple of hot prods.
Shut up. Hot probs is on.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Erin, do you have any hot props with this movie?
I have a few. I don't know if people agree with this. One is when they land in this mysterious place where there's some kind of possible distress signal going out, and they have to investigate to see if everything's okay, because there's some kind of rule in the bylaws that you have to do that if you hear a distress signal or something. So they send 3 people down to go check it out, and someone's walking around down there. I feel bad now because I can't remember who it is. Is it Parker down there? Walking around and then says, oh gosh, it's really warm here. It's like a tropical something or other.
Can you see anything? I don't know, a cave. A cave of some sort, but I don't know, but it's like the goddamn tropics in here. This is completely enclosed, and it's full of leathery objects like eggs or something.
They're walking around, it looks like eggs. Oh, this is a weird viscous fluid, and they're checking around, and I just was thinking, if there's a bunch of eggs around, and it's like this weird tropical thing going on, like, why do you keep exploring? Why don't you, maybe go back, regroup, think it out, and be like, okay, I think we're in a nest of some kind. How do we want to handle that? But instead, it just keeps going into what seems to be like a weird situation. And so I thought that was a bit odd. I think if I found a bunch of mysterious alien eggs and viscous fluid and the temperature was weird and I think I'd go back and we'd regroup and we'd come up with the plan on what we wanted to do next.
Right.
Maybe they do this kind of thing all the time, though. I don't know. But that seemed
might be
weird.
like the personality of someone who ever wants to be an astronaut anyway. Yeah.
If you see alien eggs, you're cool.
Well, kind of just like that. You want to explore.
Well, he is the first one who volunteers to go on the mission too. Dallas is like, who wants to go? And Kane's like, I do.
I'll volunteer to be in the first group to go out.
Yeah, that figures.
He was going to die like that one way or the other, I think. That was kind of his destiny.
That was one of mine. Yeah, I just thought, I found that unbelievable.
That is fair, yeah.
But
He wasn't not shocked and creeped out enough by being in, a giant cavern full of alien eggs.
Yeah.
He called out right away. It's like, those are eggs.
Those are eggs. This is weird.
Yeah.
And then also, I thought it was interesting that they put all this energy into setting the scene. They have the type at the beginning that talks about what the ship is and why they're out there, and they give you some shots of the scene before everyone comes out. But they don't tell you what the time period is, and I thought that was interesting. Did I miss it when they talked about when it?
They never do. They don't. Yeah,
Is that
they
intentional?
don't say when it is.
Yeah.
I think it is intentional. They don't want to date it. They didn't want to do that thing where you're like, oh, now it's Blade Runner year. They wanted to make it more timeless, or not timeless, but just always in the future.
Yeah.
No matter when you're watching it. But then there is a whole thing where someone pinpointed on Reddit, that kind of thing, where in future movies they do say dates.
Oh.
So it's around 2144.
Oh, okay.
Which is pretty far in the future. I mean, they went way out there. Yeah.
We'll never have to answer to this.
Yeah. But interestingly, Ridley Scott did direct Blade Runner, and he said it's a shared universe in his mind.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Even though obviously way further. This is where we end up.
Right. It's always funny because for me, the beginning of Blade Runner, it's supposed to be the future, but it feels immediately so dated because one of the first scenes, people are smoking inside, and it just immediately feels old instead of futuristic.
And this movie too, Kane is smoking in the cockpit at one
Oh,
point.
yes.
Lambert also smokes a lot, chain smokes, and it is really funny to think of astronauts smoking. 2144.
Yeah.
I really hope we don't all smoke casually in that future.
Temperament wise, if you're willing to go out in space for years and not know what you're going to hit, you're not as worried about lung cancer.
Maybe not. I mean, that's true. They're definitely they have a lifestyle that's it's a little reckless for all of them. I guess. Do you have any hot props, Amy?
Not really, except, the scene after the alien explodes out of his stomach and then the way it scoots off is so comical. Not when it explodes, it's not comical. Then it's ree. I don't know if that's supposed to be funny, but if it's not supposed to be funny, then that's a problem because it is very funny.
I think it's not supposed to be funny.
Right. It's super scary when it happens, and then kind of looks around and just scoots off it's on this little track.
You expect him to have cartoon running feet,
One of my hot prods, when the alien was hooked onto his face, how can he possibly breathe in there? But then later they show that maybe the alien is giving him oxygen or something, or maybe...
It's breathing for him.
What's it got down his throat?
I would suggest it's feeding him oxygen.
Paralyzes him, puts him in a coma. Keeps him alive. Now, what the hell is that?
Let's not be too hasty. We don't know anything about it. Now, we're assuming it's feeding him oxygen. If we remove it, could kill him.
So then I was like, okay, I guess that's not a hot prob. They don't really have a lot of lighting on the ship. They're looking for the alien, and it's just turn on the lights. Just, maybe you'll see it better. And it was just, one of those, just do lights.
I feel like Ash kind of looks around, he's he's just
well, yeah.
But then,
I'm sure it'll turn
I'll see it.
Yeah. Apparently there were producers who were saying that sort of thing to Ridley Scott, this doesn't make any sense for a spaceship.
Yeah.
That, room that Brett walks through with the chains and the water coming down, there were producers who were saying, this doesn't make any sense. Why is this room on the ship? What is this? Why are there just chains dangling from the ceiling? And he was like, I don't care, it looks cool. And they let him do it. So, and it does look cool. It's very memorable image, but it doesn't make any sense. What is that room?
Right, it's like the greenhouse off the back that has a cage on the...
Or also, like, why is there a cat? There was like...
Fucking cat.
Why is there a cat on the spaceship?
I know. And why does anyone care about that cat? Because that cat is a dick. I would understand everyone dying for Jones if you kept seeing Jones sitting on their lap. Or like Jones sleeping with them or cuddling or just giving them any love whatsoever. But he never does. He's always just kind of a dick and then he gets everyone killed. Lulu, my daughter would say that a dog lover wrote that cat character. She has like a whole thing about cats being portrayed as evil in movies and she hates it. She's like, dogs are never the bad guy. Like, it's kind of true. Except for Cujo, I guess. But cats are often... They're like the British people of the animal kingdom. A hot prop of mine is I learned about the male gaze in a film studies class at college. And the example they gave was the shot on the shuttle of Ripley when she takes off her pants and it's like up her crotch and her little weird space underwear.
Tiniest underwear.
Yeah. And she's wearing like a crop top under there. No one wears a crop top as an undershirt. It's like she's, what's her name from Weird Science? Like suddenly she's in that outfit.
So, what would you little maniacs like to do first?
So that's totally the same outfit.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. When that started happening, I was like, and now it's that kind of movie, huh?
Yeah. So,
You know?
and that was like the teacher. I forget her name. I wish I could remember. She was a UPS. She was a great teacher. And she was like, this is the male gaze. And I was like, I get it. That's all you had to say. Perfect illustration.
Yeah, when she turns around, there's even the crack. You can like see it.
Yeah,
I remember thinking that.
Tiny
Yeah.
underpants.
Yeah, those are very small. Maybe that's like the price you pay. You get to play an actual human with like all the emotions and power and stuff. But they have to have at least one scene where you're half naked and people can ogle you,
in the
right?
80s,
That's
yeah.
the price. Yeah.
We suddenly realized Sigourney Reaper's hot because she's in her underwear. Like,
Oh, yeah.
let us sexualize her for at least 20 seconds.
Yes, exactly.
I thought it was interesting that they just did whatever the computer told them to. I was thinking about Mother and I haven't seen A Space Odyssey. I need to see it. I know there's another AI or... It seemed like that was a thing in that period. This is the all-knowing computer. And once Ripley gets access to it, she's actually trying to get answers and it's just not computing. And it's just kind of like you have to do whatever the computer says.
Yeah. I think that computer represents the bureaucracy of the company. The computer is the proxy of the company.
Oh.
And Ash is the proxy too, but once he's gone, it's just the computer. So I really like at the end when she's like, you bitch!
Override detonation procedure has now expired.
Mother! I've turned the cooling unit back on! Mother!
The ship will automatically destruct in T-5 minutes.
You bitch!
But I see what you're saying.
I feel like it's always fun to see in that era the computers as characters in movies. Like it just seemed there was almost like this computer panic happening back then, you know, where it's like these computers are taking it's a funny genre for me.
It really speaks to their generation. Like there's those Terminator movies too. There were a lot of movies made around that time with robots or computers creating a dystopia type of situation.
Yeah, or just even like having like a personality kind of, you know. I mean, now that's almost a thing you expect, but you know. Did anyone see that movie Electric Dreams?
Yes.
Right.
Oh my god, I remember the song too.
Oh yeah. It's like the beginning days of having a personal computer where you would have a computer in your house, and this guy buys a computer. His next door neighbor is Virginia Madsen, like that's the era. Very young Virginia Madsen. The computer can talk. I can't remember exactly what happens, but it's like the computer gets too close or wants to be friends. The voice of the computer is Bud Cort. So that's kind of fantastic. Yeah. That's probably the best part of the movie, that it's Bud Cort is the voice of the computer.
I remember when the bottle of champagne falls on the keyboard and then the screen has a bunch of bubbles going up it, like in 2-bit bubbles. It's It's so funny because Ripley keeps asking it the chances of survival, and then Mother keeps saying it does not compute, and then she asks it again and it says it does not compute, and I'm like, oh my god, this is like the magic 8-ball saying ask me again later or something. Your life is on the line, the computer is not working and can't give you any
or like when
advice.
she's trying to deactivate the self-destruct, and she's like, I did all the shit you told me to do and it's not working.
It's like, thanks, computer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I love the instruction.
When we were watching that, we was like, why wouldn't it let you adjust the amount of time? You know, like, okay, this
why does it have to be 10 minutes?
Right. It has to be,
yeah,
I think if you're going to destruct it, you can choose from some options. Like, it might take me more than 5 minutes to do whatever I need to do, you know?
Yeah.
Destruct it in 10 minutes, but you have 5 minutes to undo it, and that seems like it should have been adjustable.
Yeah. It should be an override.
Right.
Or you should always be able to override. Like, what would be the advantage of having...
Right.
Having it be like midway cut off. 10 minutes is just... goes by so fast. Like, I don't know. I guess that's like a really cinematic amount of time. Because it always makes me laugh in Back to the Future when Marty's like, I gotta go back and do all this stuff and save Doc and blah, blah, blah. 10 minutes ought to do it. What? You could go back further.
Just standard blowing up the ship time. I don't
know. And like, are there any other things besides spaceships that have a self-destruct sequence? Like, what is that? Like?
Gosh, I hope so. I want to see more of those. I do enjoy them.
I know that it's just a classic ticking clock for tension thing, but yeah.
It's fun. For Hot Prop, I noticed none of us thought about the fact that the alien knew to stow away on the escape pod. And it didn't even occur to me to think that was a little hard.
Like could the alien hear the announcement? Like, how does the alien know what a fucking shuttle was? Like, how does it know so much about...
better hide here.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it's a perfect organism.
Yeah. That is a very good point. Also, that she didn't put her hair in a ponytail until, like, the very end of the movie. She would have her hair in a ponytail all the time. You worked on a fucking space shuttle. I have my hair up all the time, and I don't work in a spaceship.
Next call.
It did seem like it was important to Ridley Scott that she be beautiful, though, because there was some quote I read about it that I should have brought, so I would actually quote it right. But he said something along the lines of it was important to him that it be a woman, and you wouldn't think that she would be the last man standing or whatever because she's so beautiful and something, right? So I got the sense that her beauty also was important, and that was like a very hip do back then. So
that was very, that was, I mean, actually, the other reason she reminded me of Kelly... What's her name from Weird Science?
Oh, Kelly LeBrock.
Kelly LeBrock
is because she had the hair too, like wild curly white lady hair. What were you talking about just? That she had to be a beautiful. You wouldn't expect her to survive.
Yeah, to be the last guy.
He did a bad job with that, or she undermined him with her performance. Because, like, I would absolutely 100% from minute one expect her to be the last one, if not just among the last ones, because she's got so much strength and presence. Like, I fucking love. We can do the Eskimo, the favorite lines.
I've already started underlining meaningful passages in her copy of Moby Dick, if you know what I mean.
Some of my favorite lines are just when she's having conversations with Ash and she's just not taking his shit and she's not trusting him. But she's also not raising her voice at him or anything. She's just being so calm, but also showing him that she doesn't believe anything he's saying.
Ash, when Dallas and Kane are off the ship, I'm senior officer.
Oh, yes, I forgot.
You also forgot the Science Division's basic quarantine law.
No, that I didn't forget.
Oh, I see. You just broke it. Huh?
Look, what would you have done with Kane? You know his only chance of survival was to get him in here.
Unfortunately, by breaking quarantine, you risk everybody's life.
Maybe I should have left him outside. Maybe I've jeopardized the rest of us, but it was a risk I was willing to take.
It's a pretty big risk for a science officer. It's not exactly out of the manual, is it?
She's, like, just such a badass. I mean, there's a reason why she's one of the most important characters in cinema. You just did not see women like that in
no.
movies then.
Yeah, she was unflappable. Well, until the end. I mean, by then anyone would be freaking out because you don't know if this ship's going to explode when you're on it. You're in a cat. That's a lot of stress. But otherwise, she was unflappable. Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm.
I know. There's like none more pressure than everything's going to explode literally if I don't get this job done. She's not like Diane Keaton starting a baby food business. I don't know why that's always my reference point for like women of the 80s, but I feel like that's like what they thought.
Was that baby boom?
Yeah. They're like, this is what successful women who have it all. They're like, Kathy, basically. Sigourney Weaver has zero Kathy energy, which I really love.
Yeah, very steady.
Do you have any favorite lines in this movie?
Well, most of my favorite lines are from Brett and Parker. I like the way they pick on each other. Like, I think Parker's the one who says this. I know why they don't come down here. It's because of you. You've got no personality.
Listen, you don't notice how they never come down here? I mean, this is where the work is, right?
Well, it's the same damn reason we get a half share of their one. Our time is their time. That's the way they see it.
No, but
same old shit, man.
But I think I know why they don't come down here. It's because of you. You don't have no personality.
They get paid less and stuff, and they're blaming each other. The way they talk to each other like that. Another Parker line that I really like is when they're talking about how they have this responsibility where they have to go check it out, and he's like, no, I want to go home and party.
There is a clause in the contract which specifically states any systematized transmission indicating a possible intelligent origin must be investigated.
I don't want to hear it.
We don't know that it's intelligent.
I want to go home and party.
I understand exactly how he feels. Like, that moment is so relatable, you know, when you're just done with the job. So lines like that are just cut right to what he's really thinking, I found really endearing. So he was actually my favorite. I liked Parker even better than Ripley, even though obviously by the second Alien movie, my favorite. I mean, everyone likes her the best at that point.
I like in the beginning when they're talking about the bonuses and all that, and Ripley says, you'll get whatever's coming to you.
Hey, Ripley, I'm going to ask you a question. If they find what they're looking for out there, that mean we get full shares?
Don't worry, Parker. You'll get whatever's coming to you.
I like that because it seems so ominous.
Yeah.
And then, like, after Kane died, and someone said, I don't remember who said it, but someone said, anybody want to say anything?
Anybody want to say anything?
And it's just like silent. That was kind of a burn on Kane. Like, wow.
I always thought that was more just we have bigger problems. This is just the beginning of our problems. Like, we don't really have time for a eulogy because we're all gonna fucking die.
Yeah.
But they do rip on Kane a lot.
I wrote down for Lambert, the other woman on the crew, she's saying, let's get the hell out of here.
We'll proceed with Dallas's plan.
What? And end up like the others? No, you're out of your mind.
You got a better idea?
Yes. I say that we abandon the ship. We get the shuttle and just get the hell out of here. We take our chances and just hope that somebody picks us up.
The shuttle won't take 4.
Well, then why don't we draw straws?
I'm not drawing any straws. I'm for killing that goddamn thing right now.
Okay.
I'm like, yes, get out of there. It seemed like nobody was listening to her. Like Kane, when he just had to keep going. Like what you said with the hot prob and fight or flight person, I'm definitely a flight person. Like, I'm with that lady. Get the hell out of there.
Rolling down that conversation was like fight or flight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, she was the only one who was voting for flight.
Right. And I guess they all have to, per the contractor, they're not going to make their money unless they go investigate it and bring back a sample for analysis. But then Ash was the one who doesn't... So Ripley is on the ship. She's the de facto captain on the ship. At first I was thinking he let the aliens back in and like he went against her as a captain. And so I'm like, maybe it's because he doesn't respect her as a woman captain. But then it seemed like later when you find out he's a robot that was built by the company, his mission is just to get the alien. And maybe it's not like a gender bias of his that he did that, but I feel like Ripley had they were trying to repair the ship, and Tom Skerritt or Dallas is like, I just want to get the hell out of here, and she's like, well, we're not done with the repairs yet. We don't have enough coolant, and he's like, he doesn't care, and it's just like, wow, she's the captain basically, but they're not being.
Well, Dallas is the captain.
Or, yeah.
She's only de facto captain because he was on the surface.
Oh.
At that moment. Like, she was on the ship. It was really a technicality at that point because she was like, well, I'm on the ship, so I'm the captain.
Yeah.
So it was kind of an interesting switch of power dynamic because her superior was outside, but while he was outside, he wasn't her superior. And she was beholden to protocol and was determined to stick to that, but was undermined. And
yeah.
I think you can read it as both things, though. I mean, he obviously is a misogynist in addition to being anti-human. He doesn't beat up any of the other people like that. He only beats up Ripley like that. He's an android, but he definitely has hubris that is harmed by her resistance to him.
Yeah.
And he doesn't like that. It makes him angry, even though that seems counterintuitive to what he is.
Yeah.
So I really do think that he doesn't like those conversations that she has with him, where she's like, did you just forget what the rules were?
Right,
and he is trying to make himself look good because he's like, well, I had to make a decision because I thought it was important to save his life. He was totally lying about that. That's not what he was.
Yeah.
He was like trying to be like, you're the bitch here because you're the one who didn't care about saving everybody. He's a good villain.
Yeah, the way he does it's very malicious.
Yeah.
That's true.
And it's really good writing, too, because there's a lot of subtext. I really like a lot of the Brett and Parker banter, too. I really like when Brett says, we're going back in the old freezerino.
We're on our way home.
Yeah, back to the old freezerinos.
That just seems like a Harry Dean Stanton ad-lib. And when he says, shouldn't have landed on this damn ball, I know that.
Shouldn't have landed on this damn ball, I know that.
Again, just so Harry Dean. And then I just did want to say the specific beats in the conversations between Ash and Ripley where he's saying how it's an interesting species and it's tough and hard to kill, and she's like, and you let him in.
Well, it's an interesting combination of elements, making him a tough little son of a bitch.
And you let him in.
She's basically saying, like, you're full of shit here for what you want. Like, it's really interesting that you know what it is and you still decided to let it on the ship.
Right. Ash was totally fine with, it will kill everyone on the ship, but the company will get this specimen to analyze.
I mean, I think the implication is that they're going to use it as a weapon. What does a government want with a technology? Not to study for science.
Right.
Obviously, it's not going to go the way they want it to. Again, pretty typical of government and military. We've made this perfect killing machine and we're gonna end up killing ourselves because of it. Oh, I also like when Ash is like, what do you want me to do? Which is such a, typical, like, male response to a woman asking them to do something very reasonable.
Right.
And she's like, just what you've been doing, nothing.
You're still collating? I find that hard to believe.
What would you like me to do?
Just what you've been doing, Ash. Nothing.
I also really like when Brett is just walking around looking for Jones forever and just meowing. Like, meow, meow.
I love that.
Jonesy.
What else does a suicide need, huh? Now, if you'll excuse me.
You blow it tonight, girl. And it's keggers with kids all next year.
Yeah, Lucy was wondering, I watched it with Lucy, and she was wondering if Goose from Captain Marvel is supposed to look like Jones, if that's like a little alien show.
Oh, interesting, maybe.
I mean, she had to explain what that even was. I mean,
That
but she
might
thought
be.
he looked like Goose.
Yeah. So. I mean, Goose fucks up. Like, spoilers for Captain Marvel, but, like, Goose ends up being the reason that Nick Fury loses his eye. It's like someone just, like, implicitly trusting a cat and a cat fucking you up. I love that movie. One of my favorite things about it is just the way Samuel L. Jackson is talking to this little kitty that eventually is, like, the reason he loses an eye.
Oh my goodness, look at you, just look at you. Aren't you the cutest little thing? Aren't you cute? And what's your name, huh? What's your name? Goose. Cool name for a cool cat.
Fury.
And the thing is that it's not a cat, it's actually like an alien that can kill you. I bet there is something there.
I wonder if it looks like Jones Lamper.
Yeah. Lucy's a good little film watcher.
She is. Yeah.
There's some fun casting what ifs. Harrison Ford was offered the role of Dallas, but turned it down.
Oh, okay, I could see that.
And it was between Sigourney Weaver and Meryl Streep for the role of Ripley for Ridley Scott, but it defaulted to Sigourney Weaver because Meryl Streep was mourning the death of her partner John Cazale at the time.
Oh.
Yeah.
She would have played it very differently.
I
think.
cannot picture her in that at all.
Yeah. Well, it came
I'm
out
thinking
the
of
same-
like that era.
same
Meryl
year.
Streep is
Yeah.
like Kramer versus Kramer,
Yeah,
or
I
like
think-
Manhattan. Interesting. But you know, she can do anything, so I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
Interesting. I would have watched that one too. Yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
I looked up some of the drawings of, is it H.R. Geiger?
Yeah.
Or, the alien is a very phallic
Yes.
head. Like, I didn't notice it that much in the movie, but in the drawings you can really see it.
They actually had to have him tone down a lot of like the,
Oh,
just
really?
the genitalia. Apparently the first egg that he presented them was basically a vagina. They were like, can it not be on its side with that big slit in the middle? That's his thing. He's kind of got like a Georgia O'Keeffe vibe to his stuff. Alien Georgia O'Keeffe
I
genitals.
respect that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not just penises, it's vaginas, it's all of it. The inside of the Nostromo was designed to look like an airplane graveyard, was the conceptual design for that, which I
I can
thought
see
was
that.
cool.
It kind of does look like that, yeah.
I do like how there's so many different textures, and it's just like really chunky. Not like smooth Star Trek. You know, Star Trek ships are like, in the future, ships are just going to be sleek.
Yeah.
They're like, no, in this future, everything's chunky.
Yeah, it was very industrial looking, and I guess I was thinking like they're space haulers or they're
like
they're
towing
towing minerals or
glorified
doing
tow truck
something.
people,
Yeah,
but they need like scientists and pilots.
Yeah,
They like picked up this big ass ship that's dead, basically, just out in space.
It's like truck drivers, but in space or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how you'd land that back on Earth. I mean, it looks very unwieldy. I guess the idea is by then they have the technology, but you know. I did look at that and I was like, I don't know how that would work. With re-entering the surf, I don't know.
I don't know. Well, like when they land the shuttle on the planet, it's like on fire.
So, and it's much sleeker, you know. So.
Space stuff is so scary to me. The concept, it always makes me laugh that like it's always so harrowing.
Yeah.
And yet it's something people want to do. They're like, yes, I'm definitely going to be on fire when I land, but sign me up.
Or like now, the idea of going to Mars. Why would you trust Elon Musk to take you to Mars? You know, like, he's such a doofus. Why would you ever put your life in his hands? You know,
right? I know, an eccentric billionaire.
Right, such a mess, that guy. With the shatterproof windshield. Do you guys watch that?
Oh
thing?
yeah, I saw that.
You're gonna get in a spaceship with him.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, fine. We're going to Mars. Come with me. No.
Why would you? Take your chances down here,
though. Yeah. That would be a good reality show. I would watch that reality show.
Go to Mars with Elon Musk.
Yes. Would that be fantastic? I mean, I wouldn't be on the ship. I would watch.
Right.
Safe.
I loved like the opening with them in their little stasis pods or whatever, and they all open at the same time. It was a cool scene, like opener.
Yeah, you really get the lay of the land before you meet them. The camera goes through the whole ship, and you really get to see how big everything is.
Yeah.
And all the corridors. It's cool. It's very atmospheric. I don't think they made a lot of movies like that. They certainly didn't make science fiction like that at the time. This is definitely a movie that inspired a lot of other movies after it.
And when I was watching it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the abyss. Where it's like the oil workers under the ocean or whatever.
Totally.
But then I was like, oh no, the abyss is like Alien.
I mean, James Cameron does want to be Ridley Scott, but he's
Yeah.
not smart enough. That's really the essence of it. Yeah, the Aliens is like a completely different take on it. It's kind of like, here's how I would have made Alien. A lot more explosions and action right from the get-go, and people swearing, and Bill Paxton.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Bill Paxton's always got to be there somewhere.
I respect that.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
We have a new segment today.
Oh.
I decided we should call it Patronizing Bunny Rabbits.
All
we want is to be treated like human beings, not to be experimented on like guinea pigs or patronized like bunny rabbits.
We often will talk about the ways directors clandestinely motivate their actors, often female, by tricking them in some way, or having other actors in on something that they're not in on. In this case, Ridley Scott's Patronizing Bunny Rabbit was to pull Yaphet Kotto aside and tell him to be a dick to Sigourney Weaver.
Oh, wow.
And Yaphet Kotto did it, but he talked about it in interviews, regretting it for years afterwards, because he was like, I really liked her, I respected her, and that scene where she's down in the steam tunnels or whatever talking to Brett and Parker, and she's like, fuck you guys are very annoying.
Look, I'm not gonna do any more work. We get this straightened out.
Brett, you're guaranteed by law to get a share.
What?
Why don't you just fuck off?
What? What'd you say, Rick?
If you have any trouble, I'll be on the bridge.
That was because Yaphet Kotto had been riding her ass all day, and she was truly like, fuck you. And he didn't, he was sad about it.
That's
but like, why?
gross.
Again,
Yeah.
but it's just the
You
reason,
should
like...
trust people to act.
Exactly.
You know?
You hired them to perform, just trust that she could have done that scene. Like, how hard can it be to be like, in this scene, you're annoyed with them. Like, oh no, I can't imagine what that's like.
Yeah.
I've never been annoyed with it.
I have to dislike him in real life to convey that emotion.
A lot of directors like the method where you
Yeah.
actually like feel and experience it rather than just act it out. They feel like it's more real. So
to have it on their terms where you're saying like, I need you to really feel it, versus being like, I didn't trust you to find that space, so I'm tricking you into feeling
right.
it.
I don't think it's right.
Yeah.
It's really gross. It's super gross.
It's fucked up. Yeah. And then there was like another instance of that where he, and this is really triggering. He told Veronica Cartwright to actually slap Ridley in a scene, and she did it, and also felt bad about it. But it was just like, again, like, why do you have to really slap? Like, hire someone if you don't know how to do a stage slap, or you don't know how to show someone how to do a stage slap. There's a reason stage slaps exist. It's because in acting, you shouldn't have to really hurt someone to have it look like they're hurt.
That's weird. So first he gives her this strong role, which is like one of the strongest roles. I can't think of a stronger role that happened before in cinema, but I could be wrong. For women, where you get to be a full person, very exciting. And then he has other actors pick on her and literally physically assault her.
Yeah.
Which is not normal in the theater world or the movie business. And then he sexualizes her for no particular reason during the last 10 minutes of the movie. Just slaps it on at the end. He's
Apparently
got some
there
issues.
was some stuff they cut. They were going to have the alien come out when she was in her underwear and masturbate, basically. Fortunately, he had the sense to not do that in the end. But, like, what?
That's weird.
Like, to make this, like, subtle, empowering art house film, and then in the end be like, all right, now, it's over.
Well, the Lambert character, that alien, like, slowly kind of wraps around her, right?
Yeah.
Right before, I don't remember if he touches her butt or not. I think he does, but I could be making that up.
He puts his tail, like, between her legs.
Yes, so it kind of sexualizes her right before, but this was right after Halloween was made, right? Sexualizing with violence, maybe it was part of the culture. Now we're all better. We don't do that anymore.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Back then, you had to pair the two.
Yeah. I'm so glad we fixed that.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating. I guess that people who get away with doing that, like people who try to do it and don't succeed are, well, I guess they still succeed in a way, but like people who get called out for it are like Brett Ratner, right? Terrorizing Olivia Munn, and everyone's like, that's not cool, man, because you're Brett Ratner. Ridley Scott, it's like, oh, he's an artist. Right? It's okay for him to do that because he has a process and a method. Or Stanley Kubrick and Shelley Duvall, or Quentin Tarantino, and every woman he's ever worked with.
I know, all these stories of female actors, and I don't know, I haven't heard one where it's a guy.
Right, like they always just meant to like fake a reaction, you know,
Not that we're inherently better. I think like one day, in theory, in a magical land where we finally are equal. really equal in the eyes of most, if not all people, I bet women will start doing that kind of crap too. But right now, we're just not there.
Right, but I mean, like, you don't hear about male directors terrorizing men on their sets.
Oh, no.
Right.
That's true.
Like, he didn't take Sigourney Weaver aside and say, I need you to be a dick to Yaphet Kotto. It's the other way around, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's that power differential thing.
Yeah.
It's gross.
I don't love it. Oh, another, like, Patronizing Bunny Rabbits thing, actually, was the chestburster scene. They all read the script, so they all knew something. Like, there's a common misconception that they didn't know what was going to happen. They knew something was coming out of him. Obviously, they knew that, like, John Hurt was strapped to this table for hours. Something was going to come out of his chest. They knew that. Tom Skerritt knew even more than that because he was that day really interested in the mechanics of it, so he was watching them set it up. He really wanted to know exactly how that practical effect was going to work. But what they didn't tell anybody else was that they made the guts out of real animal guts and blood. So actually, a lot of the practical effects are animal products, like the face hugger when you turn it over and they're poking around. There's like actual animal organs in there. There's like a lot of latex over animal bits.
That's so funny.
But so, like, basically, their looks of disgust when all the blood and viscera gets on their faces is real because they're, like, realizing in that moment that this is actual animal bits.
It smells so good.
I'm sure it smelled terrible. And apparently, Yaphet Kotto went home, and he was, like, the most traumatized by it. He locked himself in his bedroom and wouldn't come out for a couple hours. His wife was, like, all worried and... yeah, because he was processing that. I mean, I don't know if he saw some action in a war or anything, or had PTSD, or if it was just, like, in general.
just having animal blood thrown on his face is probably... Yeah.
That's crazy. I wrote down in one part, gross chicken breast, because something looked like a chicken breast when he's looking in the pod. John Hurt is looking at
Yeah, that was like some real animal bit. I don't remember what, but some organ.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's gross.
Yeah, it looks very organic. Even as a vegetarian, like, I understand wanting it to look real and making that choice. But just not telling people is so fucked up. Again, if the shit's getting on their face and they know it's coming, they're still going to be grossed out.
Right.
I think they're still going to play it fine. You don't have to trick your actors. You just don't have to.
Right.
Just don't do it.
Yeah, it's like, trust them to act. Yeah.
I don't patronize bunny rabbits.
So, Lunchtime Poll?
So this is what's called a Lunchtime Poll.
I feel like this is okay because it's kind of a heavy movie. There's just not a lot of levity in the movie. So let's have some levity in the Lunchtime Poll. Let's get fun. There's a dropped subplot, and I don't remember if they shot this scene or an allusion to it, or if it was just in the script and they cut it. But essentially, there was a subplot where the crew were having casual sex with each other, Bloff's team. And then in this scene, Ripley's talking to Dallas, and she's like, you know how we've all fucked each other? Have you noticed anyone having sex with Ash? Because she was like, it's weird that he's, as like a sign of Ash being not human, because he's not having casual sex with everybody. All this to say, if you're in this situation, which crew members of the Nostromo would you make time with? Erin.
I'm the dyke in the group. I would go for Ripley, obviously.
Yeah.
Lambert it's reasonable that she gets so scared, but she's too scared.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'd be into that. That would feel fun. I like a nice, level, energetic person. Yeah. That's more my thing.
Do you think she's high-strung all the time, even before they meet the alien?
She seemed tense from the start. Yeah. The whole movie, when we see her, she's in a high-stress situation. So maybe when she's back on Earth and not working, she might be really chill. I don't know. And she got a really short haircut, so she could have been the gay, but, But in the movie, as far as what we saw of their personalities and stuff, I would have had to go for Ripley.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Of my two choices.
You can go with more than one if you want. Give it because it's casual,
Yeah, that's true. Right. Yeah, I don't think I'd want to do it. Well, if I had to sleep with one of the guys, I had to, or the world would end. It would have been Parker because he made me laugh so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Parker Yaphet Kotto?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a hard time with it. I don't find anyone, like, especially attractive, kind of shallow, so that's really all I'm basing it on.
Yeah.
But if I had to, I guess Dallas.
Interesting.
I mean, I think he's the only one that's...
He's a cute guy.
Yeah, I don't even think he's that cute. I think he's...
No one has ever described Tom Skerritt as cute. I don't
Relative?
think ever.
Like, I don't know.
I mean, it would be like a Mount Everest bone, though, you know, it's just like, because he's there.
Well, that's exactly my... That was the point, is like,
Yeah.
it is... You're just horny and there's no other options. You gotta pull off scene somehow.
Yeah, so...
You are literally in the middle of nowhere and there are no other options.
Dallas was my choice. I've never seen Tom Skerritt so young before. Yeah. I'm like, oh wow.
That was a game changer for you.
This is not picket fences. This is young.
Oh, wow. What a funny Tom Skerritt reference.
I thought he was pretty cute in it.
All right. Well, I'm the only one who went with more than one person, huh?
Oh, wow.
I'm the slut of the show. Well, I mean, Yaphet Kotto on Earth or on the ship, either way, definitely.
Oh, okay.
Ripley, definitely. And to like a lesser extent, Kane, just because he's got that British thing going on. He was kind of cute. I don't know. He just kind of had like a boyish cuteness to him. Like, just once to see what it's like. Maybe he'd surprise me, but...
Yeah.
I think in regular rotation, Parker and Ripley.
But Kane will try things that the others might not try, so you can really go for it. He's the adventurous one.
That's true. He's curious.
That's true.
He sticks his face right in there. That does kind of bode well, actually.
Yeah, there you go.
He's willing to put his face in weird stuff.
If you know what I mean. In case anyone isn't getting
Great, that was fun.
That's a good one.
How very.
One other line that I enjoyed, but just for my own reasons. Towards the very end, is she yells, I got you, you son of a bitch.
I got you.
And the way she says it is a lot like, that's also one of the last lines in Fast Times, my favorite movie, when Judge Reinhold thwarts the robbery at the convenience store, and he's like, I got you, you son of a bitch.
I got you, you son of a bitch. Don't you right home?
It's like the best part of that movie, which is a perfect movie, so it's saying a lot. It's like the best scene in the best movie. So I really like just the cadence of it was, I mean, not that that's such a unusual line, I'm sure that's in a lot of movies, but
yeah,
I really was very pleased by that because it was a little Fast Times echo for me. I feel like I haven't mentioned Fast Times for a while, so
it's true, you haven't. You have not. It's more like an either or with Ariana Grande. It's hard for her to come up in this episode. I guess you're seeing now, so. There was like almost no music in this movie. There were a lot of really quiet scenes.
Yeah.
Certainly no pop music, but like the score was also very sparse.
Yeah, I liked the use of quiet and darkness to kind of give us a sense of we don't know what's going on. I thought that was the idea. Like, what's going on, you're listening for something.
Right.
Because it's so quiet. Whereas if there was music in the background, I don't think we'd be listening to try to hear like the weird alien noises. And stuff.
Right, and that's the tagline is, in space no one can hear you scream.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Good tagline.
It's a good tagline.
Yeah. I read that they pitched this movie as Jaws in space. So, I guess it was coming off of the Jaws success. Oh, I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting. I don't know.
It doesn't seem Jawsy to me, but
I mean, I can see that as like a punchy elevator pitch.
Right.
Yeah. But when you really think about it, it's not at all.
Yeah.
The thing about Jaws is that it was killing like civilians because it was in a place where it's usually safe to go. It is not safe to go to space. Yeah. People don't just go to space for fun.
Right.
It's never fun. It's always terrible. Plus, there's like there's not a lot of like punchy, we're gonna need a big boat. There's none of that. There's no Terminator. That's what, again, James Cameron was like, I think we need more quips.
There's some good jump scares in the movie. Yeah. I was pretty startled in some parts of it, and that kind of reminded me of that fun blockbuster action movie vibe that Jaws had, but yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
think that it was like that so much at all.
One thing that I thought was interesting is I remember Ripley being so heroic, but she doesn't really have her heroic moment, I don't think, till like the last 15 minutes or so of the movie. And it's almost 2 hours. I mean, she's the one who's got the most insight into what's going on and the only suspicious one, so she's the smart one in the situation or whatever, but she's not heroic till the very end. And I love that it ends so strong with her actually blasting the alien out into space and coming up with this idea on the spot and all that. So I thought that was fantastic. But I remember the movie, this really strong woman who handles the whole thing. And really, it's the very end when she becomes a hero. And until then, everyone's just working together to try to figure this out and survive. So I thought that was interesting, that that's what you remember. At least that's what I think of when I think of Alien. That and the alien opening his mouth and the other alien head coming out. Those are the two strongest. So.
Yeah. It is like really a workplace drama in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
I didn't think about it until you mentioned it, but she's kind of like middle management, and she's like, come on guys, let's just get this fucking job done. We'll stop fucking around.
Yeah. And then they're all kind of equal, like shit's getting real. We've got to, let's try to survive here.
It's funny that the writers didn't think about a woman being the last man standing, because that is like, I mean, I don't know when the final girl thing started, but I mean, that did start with Halloween, right? Wasn't that?
I think that was
the first final girl.
I think so.
Do you know what year that came out?
I think
close
to right around the same time.
Okay. Yeah. So that was like a really relatively new concept. Now it's classic. Now it's a trope.
Right.
It's gotta feel good to write something that becomes a trope. That doesn't happen very often. I have a little fun bit of trivia. They had budgetary restrictions. I know $11 million sounds like a lot of money, but these days it's like a micro budget for a sci-fi movie. The scene in the big cavern, they couldn't afford to construct it as big as they wanted to, so they had that big shot where they're next to he's called the space jockey later, but not in this movie, but the space jockey's in the chair, and you see the shot from far away, and they look really tiny. Those were actually children in those suits.
Oh,
and the children were Ridley Scott's two sons and Christian Bale.
Wow.
I thought that was a cool little tidbit. Uncredited, obviously.
That would be such a cool memory as a kid. You're part of history.
Yeah. Thank you, Erin. Do you have anything you want to plug?
Well, thanks for having me. I had a fantastic time. This was really fun. And, of course, I would love to plug another one of my favorite podcasts that's about specifically queer films for women. So that's Gal Pals Watch. Highly recommend it.
I second that recommendation. We cover some of the same movies, but they have very different takes. So it's good. It's a younger perspective. We're the middle-aged women perspective. And they're the millennials. So
we are middle-aged. Yeah, so highly recommended. And they review a lot of movies from all over the globe, too, which is also pretty fun.
Oh, cool.
Oh, yeah.
You want to listen to that.
On the next episode of Paid in Puke, we let the cats out of the bag with Deb Kaplan and Harry Elfont's 2001 tween comedy, Josie and the Pussycats, starring Rachel Lee Cook, Rosario Dawson, and Tara Reid. If you enjoyed this episode of Paid in Puke, please take a minute to rate us highly on your preferred podcast listening apparatus. If you did not enjoy this episode, no further action is necessary. Paid in Puke is hosted by Amy Green, Christina Barr, and Jessica Baxter. Music by Silent Partner. Follow us on Twitter at Paid in Puke Pod, or join us on Facebook at Paid in Puke Podcast. Thanks for listening.
Lick it up, baby. Lick it